Hello Booktube, first video, hopefully I won't be too embarrassed and it won't be the last. Chances are I have already embarrassed myself because everything about this is trash. So, I've been watching Booktube for a little while and just lurking around it, and I've been seeing this really good, positive, female driven space which is encouraging people to read and be open with the literature they love. And as a guy, I cannot allow that female-led space to exist without coming in and ruining it. But don't worry, there's lots of factors that will bar me from any success. First one, my production is trash, because I live in complete trash, so my backgrounds suck. This is my attempt at a background. I don't even think the opening matches with this. I'm fairly sure I had a watch on that a couple of days ago I just took off, and now I've lost, because again, I'm absolute trash. Biggest crime, no bookshelf, tastefully showing my money sink of books behind me. Again, live in trash, can't afford a bookshelf, can't even be bothered to steal some cinder blocks and some planks to make some bookshelves. 3. I'm not attractive or charismatic, and I'm not a strategically nerdy person either. I know Cindy from Read with Cindy advocates more ugly people representation on YouTube, but trust me, see, absolute trash. You can hear that I'm on a notebook. The world is not ready for how ugly I am. So that's just not going to happen. 4. I don't read a lot. In life, sure, I've probably read easily 8 books. But because of that, and I've noticed on Booktube, where people have hauls, that's just not going to happen. I can't devour them at the speed people usually do. In fact, I use the Brace Belden system of reading, which is 1 fiction, 1 non-fiction, and 1 biography. So I can't rattle out these hauls, so you'll have to bear with whatever terrible reviews that I'm just going to have to be put out, because that's it. You're never going to get DNFs, you're never going to get tags, and you're never going to get to read. I just kind of pick stuff up, read the blurb. If it appeals to me, it appeals to me. Now, something I noticed when lurking in Booktube is a lot of the same books being read, and no shade on the people reading them, but the critical analysis is pretty light. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, because, as most booktubers say, this is for fun. Nobody should be taking this supremely seriously. But luckily for me here, I'm a girl who studied English literature, so I was thinking I could provide that. And the one thing that critical analysis requires is a close look at character. And one thing that irks me, and everyone is guilty of doing it, is when you make a simple declarative statement that is usually they're a great character, and then they don't expand on the why. A good character does not necessarily have to be likable, but what it does have to be is interesting, and it has to be interesting through the characterization, and characterization is through their actions. Sometimes a character is great or interesting because of because of their uniqueness, that's not even a word, because the character is unique to the genre. An example of this, but it's a TV one, so don't worry, you don't have to go and read, would be most of the cast of The Wire. Omar Little and Kima Griggs are examples of incredible characters that you don't see on television at all. So even movies are now struggling to catch up with what The Wire was doing so long ago. And it's no small coincidence that David Simon worked with Ed Burns, George Pelecanos, and other incredible authors in order to make the TV show. But my favourite thing about a good character, and that is a good character, not someone who is morally good, is their flaws. And that leads us really nicely to Rabbit Run. Rabbit Run was written in 1959 and then published in 1960 by John Updike. It's the first in the Rabbit series, and it introduces us to Harry Angstrom and a few months through his quarter-life crisis. A big pro to the book is there's no plot. None. You can't find it. I've looked for it, you can't find it. The story is purely driven by characters, most importantly, Harry. It's about him and what his actions do to the people around him, and even the people that are at first not connected to him. At no point does Harry uncover some grand conspiracy. There's no crime that needs to be investigated, and there's no thrilling plot points that'll drag him from one chapter to the other. It's just all Harry. We have Harry wandering around Brewer, Pennsylvania, feeling stuck and unfulfilled in a marriage and job that bores him and no longer fulfills him. And he doesn't treat this inwardly. He treats his wife terribly, noting that her beauty has disappeared, and instead of focusing on her being pregnant, he focuses on her drinking and how her hair is falling out. This is an affront to him. He doesn't see it as her suffering, he sees it as his problem. Instead of trying to work through the anxiety or problems of those close to him, he just runs. He boosts out. He abandons his wife, he abandons his child, and he moves in with a new girl who he meets very quickly and tries to replace that faded high, that post-marriage high that you're always going to be in love, that you're always going to be with someone. And this is because Harry was incredibly successful in high school. It's an idea that he peaked in high school and he's now chasing. Sorry, I not only live in trash, but I live in an area where a storm is kicking through, and I'm really hoping my building collapses. Yeah, he's chasing the high that his old high school basketball prowess gave him, and instead of focusing on something new to be invested in or appreciating how lucky he has an obsession with sex. This is the core of Harry, and no shade on everybody else, but very rarely do you get an appreciation for characters that are despicable, cruel, reckless, selfish, and irresponsible. Harry's an incredible character because of how honestly it shows him to be all of these terrible things. But he's full of these thoughts that allow us to connect on a deeper level with him, where they're sometimes contradictory. One of the great passages is very early in the first chapter, where he has to pick up his kid and his car, but they're in two different locations. And he doesn't want to run into his mother-in-law, but at the same time, he wants to get the kid first. He has this... He goes through this thought process of how to get these two tasks done with the minimum amount of drama. But he's stuck on what he wants to do first. When he sees his old coach, for example, his thoughts are that this was the one person other than Harry's mother that had any power over him, and that the coach had to leave the school because of scandal that's implied to be sexual assault. And his actions later on with Harry lead the reader, hopefully you guys, to seeing that this coach was a bad person. But Harry never experienced that relationship, so he only sees him as positive, despite knowing better. This gives him such a realistic personality that he has these contradictory beliefs, because we all have contradictory beliefs. We all have things we do that are against our own self-interest. All throughout, Harry causes his predicament to get worse because of his fear of this personal responsibility that he's ran away from. But unlike texts like On the Road, for example, which John Updike did speak about, and he said Rabbit Run was an answer to it, and because I don't like beat work, I did read it, and I have had the comparison of them. On the Road does celebrate the runner, the person running away from their problems, abandoning all their responsibilities. But Updike shows that the runner gets away with everything. The cowardice of running away is not rewarded. Harry running away, not facing his problems, just lets him dig his own grave. And it doesn't hurt him as much as it hurts everybody else, because he isn't able to face that grave on his own. He has to pull others in with him, no matter who they are, be it his wife, his new girlfriend, his child, even those that are looking out for him, like his reverend friend Eccles. Harry's main drive is sex all throughout the book, and the power it gives him over women. The sex is never tender, however. It's really quite cruel, in fact, and it's not particularly explicit. The sex in it is written very realistically, but he doesn't use sex as a way to connect with these people. Instead, he uses it as his own way of dominating people. And there's an incredible scene where he embarrasses himself by misreading a friendly advance as a sexual one, showing that he is a person of just these prime male sexual desires. He doesn't want a sexual partner, he wants a sexual submissive. And the reason for this is that he has got a hole in his life, and he's trying to fill it with as much sex as possible. There's a really good double entendre that I'm not going to do, because I'm classy. And finally, it's in the title. Running is Harry's core theme. He runs away from everything, and it's because he doesn't have the fight instinct. He's not brave enough to confront his problems. He's only able to run away from them. And when he's left with his thoughts alone, he doesn't know what to do. He just seems to go into a way of blaming others, or having this real idea that none of this is his fault and that there's no agency, he has to take care of it. When I say, and I've repeated it a few times, that Harry's a coward, he is a cowardly character. And everything he does, every action that he does in the book reinforces it. And that's character driving story rather than plot. And again, this is why I really like Harry as a character, because we all feel stressed out, we all feel lost, we all want more, but we sometimes don't know why we feel like this, we don't know how to get what we want, or even what we fully want. We can't always identify what it is we want. When someone asks you what you want, how many times have you just stood there and thought, I don't even know, but I want something? And because of this longing for something that probably doesn't exist and that he doesn't know how to get hold of, the book ends where it started. Harry's just aimless. He's just drifting through life. This leads us full circle, where Harry has caused destruction and heartbreak in others' lives, but his first thought is just how it affects him. He did not grow, he did not change. A series of life-changing events happened, but they didn't happen to him, they happened to other people. And it's because he's a narcissist through and through, and he's too focused on the self to fully realise just what a momentous few months these were. For him, that was just collateral damage that really hasn't hurt him. In fact, at the end, he's got back with his wife. People respect him again. He even has a better job than he started with. He is rewarded for his selfishness. Rabbit Run is incredible. It's a sad, hilarious book. It's easily a classic that belongs on any shelf. So, I hope that was fine. It was a bit rambly. I'm obviously very nervous. You can hear when I stutter through. But seriously, thank you for watching. I will try and do better next time. Bye. We may as well go over this scene as it's a little bit of an outro. My cover, and even though I am very embarrassed doing these, I will probably do some more. None of my books will look good. They always are red. I do my best to try and get paperbacks because I read them, but I read them in like the rain, and I read them at work, and I just read them wherever. I think I actually finished this up a hill, and this one's not too bad. No pages are missing, but they're all dog-eat. They're all horrible, and it's because you shouldn't fetishize these things. They're meant to be devoured. This cover sucks. There's a better cover out there. It's a rainbow design. Yeah, it's not bad.